Hello, hello, and welcome to the Visionary Leaders Collective podcast. My name is Aisha Harley, and I am thrilled to be your host, and I am one of the visionary founders. Please join us every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time for enlightening conversations that delve deep into wellness and harness the transformative power of doTERRA essential oils. In case you miss any episodes, you can catch us on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Stay connected with us at hellovisionary.life and don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. We send it out every Wednesday. Text reminders are also great to have on your phone. And if you feel inclined to leave us a review, we would super appreciate it. So, are allergies getting you down? It's that time of year. Are you constantly sniffly, stuffed up, or battling itchy eyes, feeling exhausted from seasonal threats? Well, today we have you covered. We have a very special guest, Louise Rose, naturopathic physician, who will be diving deep into how to prevent, find relief, and navigating spring seasonal allergies. Dr. Rose is a naturopathic physician in Portland, Oregon, and owner of Rose Cabinet Medicine. She brings 25 years as a whole food chef into her practice and is passionate about educating her passion that food is our first medicine. She specializes in endocrine disorders, brain and digestive health, nutrition, weight loss, and detoxification. And you can learn more about her at rosecabinetmedicine.com. Dr. Rose, as usual, we are very grateful to have you with us as you share your expertise. So I'm going to pass the call on over to you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Aisha, and welcome everybody. Just a little brief disclaimer. Everything that you're going to hear from me today is in education intention and not intended as personal medical advice for anybody. Just as a little disclaimer. And I also want to invite you, if you have a personal story about what's worked for you with your allergies and doTERRA essential oils or supplements. Love to hear your personal experience. Just let us know in the chat, like if you have a testimonial that you'd like to share later, or anytime during the presentation, if you have a question, please type it in. And if we have time at the end, we will try to cover as many questions as we can. All right, let's see here. Let me get my presentation going. All right, so spring allergies. If you are experiencing an increase in your allergies or the people around you you're noticing are feeling more and more miserable, you're not alone. This is happening kind of all over the place. Just a little bit about me. Like Aisha said, I'm here in Portland, Oregon, working as a naturopathic physician. And my passion is really taking healthcare out of the office and bringing it into the home. So doTERRA and I partner really well together on that point. So 1 in 5 people have allergies. It's a huge problem. 6 million lost work days. So many of you might have allergy symptoms, but 6 million people are having them bad enough that they stay home from work. Since the 1980s, we've seen an increase in these allergy symptoms in all ages, in all races, and all gender and sex groups and economic groups. Like, it's really across the board. So we think it must be something environmental going on. In young people, it is the third most chronic disease. Causes a lot of problems for people. So what I want to just cover today is kind of like, what are allergies? I want you to think, learn how to think a little bit like a naturopath. Why me? How to treat the root cause, and what can I do to feel better today? So I'm kind of always harping on this idea when I teach, is that when we when we just treat the symptoms and not look deeper for the root cause, we're just going to be chasing symptoms our whole life. But if we really only focus on the root cause, we might not feel very good in the meantime. Sometimes it takes a while to shift these bigger root cause issues. So let's do both. Let's use some things that are going to help our symptoms, help us feel better right now at the same time that we're working on these long-term root cause issues. All right, so what the heck are allergies anyway? Allergies are, you can consider, it's part of our immune response, but our immune system is basically overreacting to things that aren't supposed to be harmful for us. So we know of our immune system as this really wonderful, fine-tuned part of our body that helps us when might have an attack of, virus or bacteria or this or that, the other thing. But when we breathe in pollen, our body is not supposed to think that that's like a big attack. So in certain people, we have an overreaction, a heightened immune response to foreign substances, whether it's through the air or on the skin or in the water or wherever. We also know that histamine is really involved in this process. And histamines are kind of stored in these little packets in our cells, and these little packets break open. That's called degranulation, and histamines spill out into the bloodstream. And you're familiar with the symptoms of histamine. So stuffy nose, itchy eyes, throat, postnasal drip, maybe a cough or sniffles, really congested nose. So that's another avenue to understand allergies, as partly the immune response and partly the histamine response. We also talk about seasonal allergies, as you might hear it as allergic rhinitis, hay fever, seasonal allergies. We have seasonal allergies to things like pollens, like the trees right now are just popping with pollens, and grasses and other bushes and plants, ragweeds and this and that. So you might find through testing or experience that you have a particular allergy only for the 3 weeks out of the year that, the elm trees are pollinating or whatever. Or you might have what's called perennial allergies, which go throughout the year, and you might be reacting to things like mold or pet dander or dust mites or things that are not seasonal related. So we see, runny nose, itchy eyes, sneezing, itchiness, sinus congestion, persistent sore or scratchy throat. I know so many people these days who say, because we're all worried about COVID, and yet these first symptoms of sore throat, runny nose, itchy or congestion could be feel just like you're coming down with a cold, and you don't know whether it's just allergies. Wheezing, coughing, asthma, brain fog, fatigue, mood swings. So I know people who are really struggling with allergies who feel a lot of fatigue. It takes a lot out of you and makes it really hard to think straight. Related immune reactions are asthma and eczema. Those are sort of we call that like the atopic family of reactions. So why are some people more susceptible to seasonal allergies than others? we do have inherited tendencies. So if it runs in your family, don't be surprised if you also share that with your family, those atopic tendencies. We also know there are some genetic differences in people with something called the DAO enzyme, which is an enzyme that naturally exists in our bodies that helps us break down histamine. So remember, when histamine spills out into our bloodstream, it's like an allergic reaction causing redness, itching, swelling, sneezing. And if we don't have very much DAO enzyme, then that histamine is going to stick around a lot longer. But if we have plenty of the enzyme that helps break down the histamine, then we're going to have, fewer problems with that histamine. Let's see. Our environment has a huge difference in how we react. So sometimes people, for instance, move to the Pacific Northwest where we have certain kinds of plants that are flowering, and people find they're more reactive to those plants in this region, for instance. Or it's pretty damp here, so we have a lot of leaf mold, and sometimes our homes can have environmental things like molds that cause extra problems. So looking at both your genetic inheritance and then your environment can tell a lot about what, how you're responding. And then I always like to think about our body as a bucket. So using this analogy of how full is your bucket? So let me just explain this a little bit for those of you who might be new to my style of teaching. So if we consider our body as a bucket, when we're born, we have a relatively empty bucket, not completely empty because we have our maternal influences, our genetic influences, our environmental influences. We know we're not completely pure when we're born. But as we grow through our life, our bucket gets filled up with toxins from our environment and our water and our air and our food supply and the pesticides and all the excess hormones we're exposed to, and the toxic relationships we're involved in. Other things that kind of fill our bucket are, maybe not getting enough sleep, or not moving our body in a way that's that our body needs to be healthy. So you get the idea, like the bucket is just kind of getting more and more full with junk from our modern lifestyle. And as a naturopath, and I'm hoping that I'm teaching you to think like a naturopath, with the bucket, we can either reduce how much is going into the bucket, or we can help the bucket drain faster. So how do you know how full your bucket is? One of the ways is once the bucket kind of is full, it starts overflowing with some of these symptoms that we're talking about, these functional symptoms like fatigue, allergies, this sort of thing. So if you're having allergies, one of the best things you can do is drain your bucket. So really focus on elimination. You might consider the doTERRA cleanse once or twice a year. Has made a huge difference for a lot of people. And then again, just to talk, I can't teach about any health topic anymore without talking about stress and resilience and how we are managing our stress and how that's affecting our immune system. So why does this matter? Why don't we just take our Claritin and get on with it? What's the big deal? It works fine, right? Well, it turns out that there is an association between these over-the-counter allergy medications and their consistent use, and brain atrophy, which means shrinking of the brain, and cognitive impairment in normal older adults. So we really don't want to be relying on these medications any more than we need to. All right, so what are the root causes of allergies? We talked about the bucket being too full, and one of the ways of thinking about that is what's our toxic burden in our bodies. We know that leaky gut, so dysbiosis in the gut and too much leakiness can allow excess food particles into our bloodstream, which causes our whole immune system to react and be on high alert for these things. That can trigger more allergy problems. Chronic inflammation, nutritional deficiencies, stress and adrenal health, our environment, and histamine intolerance. These are all the root causes I'd like to talk about. So how do we empty our bucket? You might just take 5 minutes and write down all the things you can think of that are toxic influences that are going into your bucket. You know, are there toxic influences at work in terms of fluorescent lighting, or you know, the candy bowl on the secretary's desk that you walk by every day? What are all these things? What can you eliminate? What can we stop putting into our bucket? Just that's the number one easiest low-hanging fruit. How can you clean up your diet from our processed foods? Simple, simple, simple. Eat whole foods. Supporting the emunctories. What the heck is an emunctory? An emunctory is a naturopathic, old-fashioned naturopathic term meaning organ of elimination. So our organs of elimination include our skin. You can support your emunctories with dry skin brushing. I love adding a few drops of essential oil to my dry skin brush before I brush, and I kind of rotate through different ones. I'd be curious to hear what you like to use. Currently, my favorite is celery seed. Really cleansing. It's very bitter and stimulating. So I'm loving it. Our lymph system is part of our emunctory system. Our liver, our lungs, deep cleansing breaths, clean air, our bowels, our bladder, all these different emunctories. You know, if we're not drinking enough water to flush our kidneys and bladder and carry out those toxins from our body, they're just going to kind of circulate around in our system, and we're really not helping ourselves. So I know it sounds really like I'm going back to basics, but I'm doing that on purpose. We all need to go back to basics. Empty the bucket. Work on healing the gut. Leaky gut leads to overreactive immune system, whether that's allergies or autoimmune. Either way, it can lead to those things. I also want everybody to know that the allergens, like the pollens or the molds or the pet dander, those are not the cause of allergies. The allergen is not the cause, it's the trigger. So the question we need to be asking is, why is my immune system overreacting? One way that doTERRA supports us to reduce our toxic burden in emptying our buckets is by giving us all these amazingly wonderful, very effective, very healthy, clean, non-toxic cleaning supplies and cosmetics. So just start replacing all of those toxic cleaning supplies and cosmetics with clean stuff. And if you are ever unsure about the safety of your cosmetics, I really recommend the Environmental Working Group. EWG.org is their website, and you can search their website with any product and see how they rate it in terms of its safety for being on your skin. And then our indoor air quality is really important when it comes to allergy season. We want to make sure that the air that we're breathing in our home is as free as possible from those triggers, right? So really diffusing your essential oils in your home pretty much around the clock during allergy season is what I recommend. And this is useful in several ways. Just diffusing the oils in the room cleans the air. So those tiny particles of the essential oils are floating through the air, and they're magnetically attracted to the dust or the pollen or whatever is in the air, and they attach, and then they fall down to the floor or the couch or the surface or whatever. So it literally is cleaning the air. Now, secondarily, you are benefiting by breathing in the essential oils, and there are tiny, tiny particles that are helping your airways open up and stay open, helping your mucosal tissues in your airways relax and be calm and not inflamed. So really diffuse, diffuse, diffuse. What to diffuse? Any oil is going to help clear the air. So if you want to, put something in there more for your mood rather than for your lungs, go for it. However, you'll get the kind of the double benefit if you're using eucalyptus or breathe or some of the mints that are really great for opening up the airways. And then I also want to mention that the spider plants are very wonderful, natural indoor air cleaners. So they propagate really easily. So if you have a friend that has a spider plant, just let them know that you want a few of their babies, and then you can have your own. So a little bit more about our gut and how it's important here. So the concept of leaky gut is, we know that our whole digestive system technically is outside of our body. So food enters our mouth and exits our rear end. And the only way the food gets into our body is when it's broken down into tiny, tiny pieces and absorbed through our intestinal wall into the bloodstream. So technically that's the only way that the foods get into our bloodstream, is when they're broken down into tiny enough particles that they can make it through the intestinal wall. What happens in our modern lifestyle with stress and junk food and not getting enough sleep and all sorts of environmental assaults is that the tight junctions in our intestinal walls start coming apart. They start having leaks and holes in the tight junctions, and so larger and larger particles get through into our bloodstream. Our immune system picks up on that and doesn't recognize them because there are these big proteins that are not the way they're supposed to be. So our immune system goes, sends out the alarm, and every part of our immune system gets activated. So really working on restoring our digestive system and our microbiome to high functioning is one of the foundational things that you can do for longevity, long health. It has such wide-reaching effects, not just in our immune system and in our digestive system, but in our honestly, like in our mood. We're learning more and more how our microbiome really helps modulate our whole health system. So some of the products that we have, doTERRA just reformulated their PB Restore, their probiome complex, and it is outstanding. Let me tell you, it is a very comprehensive probiotic, highly recommend. And then Terrazyme is a wonderful digestive enzyme, which helps our body break down the foods and helps our body absorb the nutrients we need. And GX Assist is a periodic cleansing product that you can take for 7 to 10 days at a time when you feel like you need to weed the garden, as we say. Like maybe you have an imbalance in your yeast or bacteria load in your digestive tract. So GX Assist will go through and kind of clean out the old, making way for you to replant your garden with some beautiful seeds like the PB Restore here. We know that nutritional deficiencies can cause people to have more allergic response and more symptoms when they're in allergy season. So we know, of course, that eating healthy food is where we want to go first for our nutrients. But the Lifelong Vitality Pack is our wonderful backup for making sure that we repair all our nutrient deficiencies. We have a lot of extra antioxidants in the alpha CRS. So if you are somebody that's just used to taking just the basics, the food nutrient complex and the essential, the omegas, you might consider during allergy season adding in the alpha CRS for that extra antioxidant boost. We have all the B vitamins, which are really going to be important for our stress response and our adrenal health. And allergy season is stressful, so we burn through some of those things faster when we're under stress. Our omega-3 fatty acids, our fish oils, and our land and sea omegas are really function in the body in the anti-inflammatory pathways. So here we have inflammation going on, and we need those omega-3 fatty acids to run our anti-inflammatory pathways. So really important to keep our nutrients replete. Some foods that can help with allergies, quercetin is found in green and black tea, red onions, capers, buckwheat, bee pollen. We know bee pollen can be helpful for allergy season. Make sure you're getting enough vitamin C, omega-3 fatty acids I mentioned, berries are really high in those polyphenols. We're in nettle season right now in the Northwest, so you can go out to the woods and pick some fresh nettles, but you can also drink nettle tea or take nettles in a capsule, and they have been used historically by herbalists. Magnesium is antispasmodic. So anybody who tends towards that sort of asthma, allergic spasmy feeling, you want to increase your magnesium. And then selenium and zinc as well are helpful. So stress, what is the effect of stress and our adrenal health on our allergy season? Well, you might be familiar with taking prednisone when you're in a big flare, a big autoimmune flare or a big allergic flare. Maybe somebody has hives or a big outbreak, and they're given prednisone to bring it down. So what is that, and why does that work? So our adrenal glands produce cortisol, which in a medicine form looks like prednisone. And it's very anti-inflammatory. However, we know that we don't want to be ramping up our cortisol production just because we need anti-inflammatory action all the time, right? Because high cortisol causes all sorts of other problems. So cortisol increases histamine, which we don't want any more histamine when we're in the middle of allergy season. It promotes hyperventilation, causing more problems with our respiratory system. So this is one of the root causes that I want you to think about besides leaky gut. Really just what can you do to manage stress and adrenal health in the long term? doTERRA has lots of products that help us in this area, and I'm excited to I've been a long-term fan of the Mito2 Max for adrenal health and thyroid health. And now, of course, the MetaPower system is very helpful. Just wanted to mention a little bit about the Recharge, our electrolyte product, the MetaPower Recharge. Our adrenal glands, when we're under a lot of stress, we tend to get an imbalance in our sodium and potassium and magnesium. So having electrolytes as part of your daily routine is, I'm finding, really helpful for many, many people in their energy and stress management system. And therefore, we can assume allergies as well. Get your hydration in. So just a few other things to mention in case you haven't heard of them that might have some other ways of helping your stress management. Our secretory IgA is part of our immune system that lives on our mucosal barriers, like in our intestines and our nasal passages and our mouth. And we know that our production of secretory IgA, which is part of our, it's protecting us, can be activated in like 1 minute by closing your eyes, taking a few slow breaths, and imagining like your happy place, like where are you going to be on vacation? Imagine yourself on the beach, really just like 1 minute of imagining yourself in a peaceful, happy, safe environment increases our secretory IgA. So that tells you how closely our mind and our body are really working together, and our immune system is highly influenced by our our thoughts and our state of mind. Getting enough sleep, getting movement, focusing on joy in your life, gratitude, tension and trauma releasing exercises. This is exercises that I teach. It's getting your body into a tremor, which is a natural way to release pent-up stress and trauma in the body. Neurofeedback, brainwave biofeedback. This is also something that I offer in my practice. Mindfulness training, emotional freedom technique or tapping, different breathing exercises, getting some body work, massage, cranial sacral. And then sole is another form of taking salt internally as salt water. And all these are other ways to support your adrenal glands and your stress response. I have a couple of great diffuser blends here that I'll share for stress management. Douglas fir, bergamot, and wild orange are beautiful together. I love Siberian fir and lavender. Cedarwood, cypress, lavender, and juniper. Spikenard, lime, and eucalyptus. The peace blend, citrus bliss, or adaptive. Those are all great for managing stress. The whole adaptive system I recommend looking into if you know that stress management is one of the things that you need extra help with, using the whole system, the adaptive calming capsules with the topical oil and the diffuser oil. All right. Some of the things that we can do to help our environment. So now we're kind of shifting into what are so away from root cause. So looking at root cause, we're looking at stress management, adrenal support, environment, all these different ways that, you don't start that project in May when you're in the middle of, or you may start it now, but that'll be for next year. It's going to help you for next year. But what do I do right now because I'm miserable and I need help with my allergies? You will probably want to invest in a high quality air filter for your bedroom. And I recommend the bedroom just because that's the place where we spend the most number of hours usually in our day. If you can, get one for your bedroom and your living room or your office or wherever you spend time. And get one of those really good ones that has the HEPA filter that has going to filter out all those tiny particles. I hate to say it, but keep your windows closed. It really helps to keep that pollen out of your house. Get some baby wipes and keep them by the door. And when your pet comes in, just wipe down their fur with a baby wipe and throw it away. That can make a big difference with keeping those pollens outside the house as well. If you do yard work, you can wear a mask and then take a shower after you come in. And then just a reminder to diffuse those oils all the time. Some of my favorite oils for diffusing for allergies. Breathe. Lavender has an antihistamine effect just by itself. So it's wonderful to put some lavender in with your breathe. And I've also had some people benefit from taking lavender orally. It's in our Tri-Ease too, so we know that it's beneficial as an antihistamine. Eucalyptus, wonderful for opening up the airways. Siberian fir, frankincense, cypress, peppermint, Air X. Breathe respiratory drops. Keep those handy, and then you can keep a breathe vapor stick also in your purse if you need. Put it on the back of your neck, on your chest. We have a couple of tricks that are useful if you have a lot of nasal congestion. There's an acupuncture point called lung 30. If you are not looking at the camera and can't see where I'm touching, it's right in the fold on either side of your nose, just on the outside of your nostrils. There's almost a little, you can feel a little bony indentation that you can press your finger right into. And I like to pair that with an oil. So I'll take like 1 drop of breathe on one finger. I'll transfer half a drop to the other finger, and then I'll just kind of hold lightly, not pressing too hard on that lung 20 point for about 60 seconds or longer until I feel the nasal passages clearing. We also sometimes have great results by putting a drop of peppermint or supermint on the top on your thumb and pressing it up to the top of your roof of your mouth, and that will diffuse up into the nasal passages from inside the mouth and can really clear things that way. There's a nose clearing exercise that I like to teach from the Buteyko breathing technique. It's real simple. You just take a nice medium breath, not a huge breath, not a little breath, medium breath in and hold. And then you pinch your nose closed. And while you're holding your breath, you nod your head gently until you feel like you can't hold your nose any longer. And then you exhale. Simple. And you do that about 4 or 5 times. And I don't know why, I don't know why it works, but it does. It helps clear out that nasal passages. You can use a Himalayan salt inhaler. In the olden days, people used to go into salt caves, like where they were mining salt. And people with lung conditions or allergies or sinus conditions would just have these, you just lie around in the salt cave, and that would dry out and be antimicrobial and really helpful for all the nasal passages. I am not intending to leave out talking about Tri-Ease, but for some reason it just didn't come up until now in the presentation. But Tri-Ease is our seasonal blend soft gels, and it is fantastic, works great. You can use as needed, so you don't need to worry about taking too much. Before we had Tri-Ease in a capsule, we would it's lemon, peppermint, and lavender, and we would just put a couple drops of each lemon, peppermint, and lavender in a shot glass with a little bit of water and chug it back. So if you don't have any Tri-Ease, try that. If you're miserable, you can do that, and it really works right away, and you can do it, a few hours later if you need to again. I also like to promote steam inhalation. So your grandmother might have done this, but you just boil some water on the stove. Make sure you turn the stove off, and then you're going to put your oils in, let them flash off so you don't get that first face full of really strong volatile oils. After they flash off, you just take a towel and put it over your head and creating a nice tent for inhaling. And then I like to make sure I have a cold washcloth or something close by, because I like to alternate the steam and the cold and the steam and the cold, and that really flushes out the nasal passages.
Dr. Rose, can I add one more tip?
Yeah.
So this one is so effective if you have a lot of congestion. If you put a drop of peppermint on your thumb and you hold it up to the roof of your mouth, it can really help open up the sinuses. And I'll give you a little tip. This is a great tip if you have somebody that's very resistant to using essential oils and you want to wait for that key moment when they might really need it. Say, hey, try a drop of peppermint on your thumb and then hold it to the roof of your mouth. You want to hold it for a few seconds, but the vapors really just go right up into the nasal cavity and begin to open up the airways.
Yes. Very effective. Very impressive. All right. Well, actually, that's pretty much it for me. I just wanted to say that I admire all of you who are showing up for yourself by educating yourself about what you can do to really just feel better in your body, and not wait until something is so bad that you need a big intervention from the medical world. So that's what we're here for. We're here to inspire and support and promote our health in our community. And I'm so grateful to be a part.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rose. Again, I just want to express my gratitude for all that you and all the doctors share so freely. This is such valuable information. And if you are in Portland and need to see a practitioner, I cannot recommend Dr. Rose enough. She is amazing. And I also want to reflect on how the principles that you and Dr. Josie and Dr. Mika teach are these underlining principles that we can use for our overall health. So today, yes, we're just talking about seasonal threats and allergies. However, everything that you spoke about, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, really speaks to our overall health. And, when we have something go wrong, when we have something that's an imbalance in the system, it is information, right? And so addressing it and working on addressing it at the core level. And like Dr. Rose said, looking at your diet, looking at your stress levels, looking at your sleep, starting with those things that might sound so obvious and we can take for granted and making changes there. And then bringing in the support of the essential oils and the doTERRA products can seriously make a huge impact on your life. And sometimes when you're trying to address one thing, you'll start to notice that other things begin to clear up. And we talk about this principle of small daily doses. Don't wait until you're in a flare. If you know that you have seasonal allergies, I've heard Dr. Josie say you should be working on that the fall before spring comes,
Mhm.
working on your digestive health. This is why we do cleanses every year as a team.
Mhm.
This is why we promote this as a lifestyle. Sometimes when you wait till everything is really exasperated, of course, it's nice to have solutions to get your system to settle down, but making these changes so it doesn't have to come to that. I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again because I think it's really important. Dr. Hill says you don't just wake up one day with diabetes or heart disease or whatever the disease is. This is something that happens over a long period of time. So these daily choices, these daily habits, taking your LLV every day, doing the things really, really makes a difference. So, are there any questions? If you have any questions or testimonials about your own experience working with seasonal threats, to be uh, correct in our lingo there, um, please put
Oops.
them in the chat. And let's
I,
see.
I see a question about asthma that I can answer
Yeah,
while you
great.
look for other. So somebody asks about recommendations for seasonal asthma. And really this, like Aisha just said, you want to look at those root causes. The same root causes that we covered here are going to help with seasonal asthma. And then I also wanted to share, we have a little tip. I don't have my oils close by, but to make a little essential oil inhaler, you can take your hand and in your palm, put a couple of drops of, I like peppermint and frankincense. Those are nice, but you could use breeze or supermint or eucalyptus. And then you rub your hands, and then I use my left hand as a cup, and my right hand is kind of in a little fist, creating a little tube for myself to breathe through. And then I can really inhale the oils in a really deep and directed way. So it really gets to the bottom of my lungs and all of those tiny little places in my lungs. And it just helps open that up. So that can really help. Like I have some people who have like exercise induced asthma, and I'll just have them do that before they go for a run. Of course, you always want to have your inhaler on hand in case. I'm not saying that you should go without your inhaler, but you can certainly use oils first and see if they help.
Yes, the breathe trick. We're going way back to the basics. That's
Yeah.
similar to the peppermint trick. Seriously, if you've never done the breathe, just try it. Try it right now. Put those few drops in your hand and then you just right into the lungs. It can be so helpful and you really feel the power of those oils immediately. That can also be super helpful if you have anxiety. using the breathe in that fashion can really help settle the system down, or anytime you get sick or stuffed up. And also the breathe drops are super helpful just to suck on to keep, because there's nothing more annoying when you're all congested and you can't breathe, you know. Or sometimes I'll literally put a dab of the breathe stick like right underneath my nose and, like Dr. Louise said, massage these points here. So I'm not seeing any other questions. That was so fantastic to review. What a valuable, again, presentation and amount of information. Thank you so very much. I do want to alert you all that next Monday, we have a very special guest, which is Jake Reese from doTERRA Corporate. And if you have been doing doTERRA to make some additional income, if you think about doing doTERRA, even if you just want to get your oils for free or your products paid for, this isn't something you have to do full time. But if you love these products and you just simply share them with some friends or family, it's not difficult to get your your products paid for. I mean, who doesn't want to get free healthcare, right? So Jake is going to be joining us next week, and he's going to be talking about kind of why doTERRA and why now. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'd love to do it, but it's too late. Well, that's absolutely not true. And I do want to invite anybody that is in Portland. We are having a kind of exclusive and small business training. We are not opening this up to the public. This is something for our team, our Visionary Leaders Collective team and friends. We do have some adopted members. So if you are in Portland and you would like to join us, please reach out to me directly and I will share the information. It's going to be on June 8th from 10 to 5, and Jake is flying into Portland for this training. We then have some kind of special announcements that we're going to make on the call next week, that I'm not going to tell you now. You have to come next week to find out. So please invite, again, friends and or anybody that might be interested in learning more about doTERRA, even if they're interested in earning a little additional income. It really can be a wonderful additional income stream. So if you already have a full-time job and you want to make an extra few $100s or learn about our $1,500 a month bonus, these are really good things to inquire about. So we are here to support you with that. And we hope that you can join us next Monday, especially because he's joining us live from corporate and we want to show him a lot of support for sharing his time with us. So again, Dr. Rose, deepest gratitude to you. So appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us live, and we'll look forward to joining you next week. Okay, bye-bye, everybody. Enjoy your day.